that way, and I kind of
Yeah.
maintain it. I do want to grow, so at some point I do know that I need to take a full improvement season, which would probably be like 6 to 8 months long.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Sup Talk Radio. Again, I am excited. Tonight is going to be so much fun. I am honored and pleasured to have to host my guest's very first podcast, winning the bikini, getting her bikini professional card at the latest universe. Allow me to introduce Ms. Chyna Melton. Chyna, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Sean. It's nice to meet you, and thanks for having me.
Chyna, it's an absolute pleasure. I know we've been talking for a couple of weeks now, and this might sound weird, but I can feel like your energy through our correspondences on DMs and IG and whatnot. So hopefully this is going to be a great conversation.
Oh yeah, I believe so.
So right out of the gate, how has life changed now that you're a professional? Has anything changed now that you've got the IFBB Pro card attached to your name?
Yeah, a lot has changed. I mean, for one, this being my first prep ever, my first introductory entrance into bodybuilding and the community itself, um, everything I've learned so far has completely changed my personal life and my work life and just the things that I do on a day to day. I am eager to get back to the stage, so that's one thing. It's that, like, I'm always looking out for what's coming up next and how much time do I have so that I can improve before I can get back on stage.
Okay.
But yeah, a lot has changed. I've met a lot of really, really dope women and men, a lot of really cool friends that I keep in touch with now from each show. And I just watch their progress and we kind of compare and contrast and just keep up with each other's lives now. So that's really cool.
So when you go into the gym, do people like look at you differently? Is there more interaction from people or?
I think people were paying attention early on because they could see a change. I've been going to the same gym for about 4 years now. So I
Okay.
think they started to see over the past year a strong difference in my determination. I would come in and speak a lot more, but then over time, I kind of got more quiet and more secluded and isolated. I think they
Okay.
noticed that. So then after the shows, and of course, they were asking questions. I tell them the show is coming up and they'll keep up with me and they'll give me my space, but they could tell a huge difference after it was over. They were like, "Oh, you're back." Like, "Oh, we can see the lights back on."
You don't
But
look like a
yeah,
zombie anymore.
right, exactly. Or I'm not just really quiet or just keeping to myself or just trying to get in there and do what I need to do and then like head out.
Let's go back to younger China. What got you started down the overall road of maybe health and wellness and fitness?
Yeah, so as a kid, I started out playing soccer, mostly middle school. Started out playing soccer, basketball. I was like starting point guard on the basketball team in middle school. And then I
Wow.
just switched gears and just focused solely on soccer. So then I played soccer through high school.
Okay.
I eventually decided to choose working over playing extracurricular sports.
Okay.
Just personal reasons. And I was just like, it's about that time to make some money. Um, so in that time frame, I just started going to the gym on my own. I'd wake up really early in the morning and at least run a mile and a half, 2 miles, and that was high
Wow.
school. By
Right.
then, I transitioned to college and again, not playing any sports. So instead, I become a youth soccer coach.
Oh wow.
And I taught youth soccer ages 5 to 7 through college and worked with kids. So I stayed active that way too, but just always been in the gym. It was a daily thing. It's like a lifestyle. So could never not find me in the gym. So
So were you just going to did you have any uh not purpose, but did you have any specific strategy going to the gym, or was it like I'm just gonna walk in, exercise, maybe I'll do my chest today, maybe I'll do my biceps, my legs?
that's a really good question. I thought about this. And oddly enough, after reflecting after my bodybuilding first season, I realized I was actually just walking in and just like choosing that day what I wanted to work on.
Okay.
So every day I'd go in if I felt like I worked on glutes the day before. Okay, so now I need at least a rest day. So let me work some upper body. I was doing a lot of hit and cardio, and it
Okay.
was fluctuating throughout the seasons of the year, of course. Like, so if it's summertime, I'm doing much more cardio in the summer than I am in the winter. I'm bulking a little bit more, but those are just like consciously, it was just, or unconsciously, just like happening. Um, but yeah, never really had any true strategy. I just kind of like naturally did it. I don't know how to explain that.
So now were you just trying to stay lean, or were you trying to work on something specific, saying, "Well, maybe I just wanna enhance X body part or X structure or something?"
I think over time, to be completely honest with you, Sean, social media played a huge impact on like a lot of my development over the years through like high school and college when it comes to like my body image. So
Okay.
I think at some points in time, because of what was I was seeing and the information I was getting, I wanted to be a little bit leaner at this time frame because that was like what I was seeing most of the time or what I
Sure.
found to be better looking at the time. So it fluctuated. So every so often I would want to gain a little bit of weight. So I'd like put on more muscle, eat a little bit more, and work out harder. But then there were other times where I wouldn't be happy with that. And then I just like decide to completely cut all the carbs and
Oh,
just
jeez.
go really hard and just like work out really hard and just do a lot of cardio. But it fluctuated in time, but I found a good balance by now. That's why like transitioning into bodybuilding has been a lot easier for me because my body had already found that balance.
So what made you decide to kinda go from, I'll say, the recreational weekend warrior to go into, like, the bodybuilding side? What was the somebody say something? What was the trigger?
Yeah, totally. Someone said something. A coach slash pro, physique, men's physique. He came up to me in the gym maybe 2 years ago and was like, "You should totally think about doing this. Like, you seem like you would be really good at it." And I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I'm like, not intrigued at all. Like, I was just like, "No." But what intrigued me even more was that he had a lot of younger women that trained on his team, whether they were competing or they were just like lifestyle working out. And I
Okay.
like that environment. And I love the gym environment in general. Like I just love the people in the gym. So he invited me to work out with him one day and I got a little hooked. I was really
Okay.
sore after the workout too. And I felt like I wasn't working certain muscle groups that I could have been working that he knew, obviously. So I hopped on his team and I worked out with them for about a year. And then eventually I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like transition this into something more. And then from there, I just kind of was hooked.
Was bikini always the route you wanted to do, or is that still kind of thinking about what division you wanted to do?
Bikini was always the route.
Okay.
I think it was the only thing that I was introduced to outside of wellness. A lot of women, I've been told, like from the women that I've spoken to who've given me advice along the journey, they've explained that with my physique style or like my shoulders when I first started, a lot of my feedback was like my upper body was a little larger for
Okay.
bikini. So to bring that down, but they were pushing me more towards figure and wellness. I personally don't see wellness because I don't see myself being lower, um, larger lower or like
Okay.
more muscular lower body because I personally can't. I don't know. I don't see it happening for me. But that was what they were encouraging. But bikini has always been the initial division that I wanted to go with. It was what I was
Gotcha.
introduced to. Yeah.
So your coach kinda nicely pushes you. Does he really lay out the highs and lows? I mean, or were you kind of oblivious to what you were getting into?
Um, oddly enough, I started out with that coach I started out with here at my first gym, and then eventually I
Okay.
met a new coach. So I moved on and transitioned to a new coach. That coach, he had everything laid out a lot differently than the first coach. So it looked a lot different, and I had to shift gears completely. Um, I think it was pretty thorough. I think for me and the structure that I like routines. I like, organization. I like things to look identical all the time. I am
Okay.
kind of type A in that regard. But it worked the way that he had it set up. It was just like, the meals, the nutrition, how many days a week we're working out this muscle group. These are the exercises, how many reps, how many sets, it was just already laid out that way. So it was pretty like by the book.
So did you kind of vet him and other so for people let me back up. So for people that are looking for trainers, coaches, whatever term you want to use, like what criteria did you use for finding now the new coach?
Yeah, so I went to opposing clinic, right? So I
Great.
tried to immerse myself in the community as much as I could before I actually got on stage. So I went to the shows. I went to opposing clinic in Charlotte. That was hosted by Mike with Unchained.
Okay.
He owns that gold out there. So shout out to him. He's really great. They hosted a posing clinic with all the pros there to teach us like how to pose, and they had a few judges out there. So there they actually talked about like what to look for in a coach, whether that's like your nutrition styles, what you what your exercises look like, what your goals are, your health. The
Okay.
really big one for me at the time was health. And that's something that, was really important to me when finding a coach, is that they incorporated that. So I paid attention to that. I had to use social media, obviously, to like find a lot of these people. And that was helpful too. But just having the consultations and sitting down with them and vetting them that way after having some conversations with others who are in the sport
Okay.
helped me a lot. That is really what I relied on, is that, people being honest with me and telling me the truth,
Definitely.
and just from their experiences. So
So you decide to pick a show, and
mhm.
and you start getting into the diet and prep and whatnot. How had you been eating prior to that? I mean, were you pretty clean, or was it a big drastic change when it came to diet?
I've been pretty clean all the time. Like
Okay.
I eat out, of course, fast food here and there
Sure.
with friends, and we all hang out, normal. But for the most part, I make healthy choices if I can. So if I go out with friends and we're at a restaurant, I try to eat something that's kind of similar to what I was already eating. Um, to be honest, I wasn't eating a whole lot of protein. I was vegan for like maybe 4 years, and then I
Okay.
transitioned to pescatarian for about two, and then I started eating meat again.
Okay.
Eventually it just happened. No particular reason, but sometimes I went through those spells where I wanted to see what my body can do, like see what foods are doing to my body, and if I respond differently to different foods. So that was what I was going through, kind of experimenting. But before getting into a meal plan and getting into bodybuilding, I pretty much ate the same, just not as
Okay.
much. I eat a lot more as a bodybuilder than I did before.
Was good eating habits instilled by mom and dad, or was that something you picked up later through Instagram and doing your research and whatnot?
I think that's mostly from being in sports.
Okay.
My family, they don't necessarily eat very, very healthy. Like they eat very like we're from the South too, so a lot of Southern
Okay.
foods, like barbecues and like collard greens and
Yep.
cornbread, those types of things. I mean, I totally eat that too, but they eat it a lot more frequently. So
Okay.
if you can think about that long term. Um, so that just came from being on sports teams. Like my coaches instilled in us, drink a lot of water. We always were like pushed to eat a lot of fruits and
Sure.
vegetables. They encouraged that, and that's just something I picked up on my own.
So now do you show up to with your own meals, when you go to family outings and stuff? Do people look at you weird while they're having the barbecues and the cornbread and you're having chicken rice, fish and rice, whatever it is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I recently went to Dominican Republic right after all of my shows. I went
Okay.
to DR with my family, and I was still kind of transitioning out of prep, so I still wanted to do it the right way. I didn't want to just like load my body up, even though I sort of kind of did that a little bit, but I was able to snap back and get right back to where I needed to be. But I took all of my food with me to DR. I mean, when I travel now, that's just kind of like a habit. I just kind
Yeah.
of take food with me all the time, so I have an extra bag with food all the time. So my family, they're not used to that. They're actually really shocked, but they're impressed, and they encourage me. They don't make me feel bad about it, which I love the most. Is that they're like, "Wow, I wish I had that determination. I wish I had that discipline." So that's encouraging. But yeah, they look at me like, "I can't believe you're eating that 4 times a day, and we're eating." They'll have like one large meal, and it looks amazing, but that's all they'll eat, and then they'll have like junk food in between. And I didn't realize that's how we were eating before, but now I'm like super conscious, right? But yeah, they're encouraging.
So now how did you go about picking your first show?
Mm. Yeah, I initially I wanted to do the Charlotte Pro,
Okay.
but I realized maybe a few weeks before that show when I met my current coach. He and I had spoke, and where I was at the time personally, I'm really competitive too. I'm just like, I really wanna win. Like, I really wanna do well, but I really wanna
Yeah.
win. And so I'm like, I don't wanna get on the stage. I'm sorry, that's my cat and my dog
That's
love
okay.
to chase each other through here. Um, but I really wanted to do a good job, but I wanted to challenge myself, right? So I talked to that coach maybe 4 weeks out from that show. I decided not to do it. I chose that one and because it was like early in the year and it was around the time frame that I wanted to do my first show, but it's also
Yep.
Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm from North Carolina. So my parents and my family
Backyard.
have been able to come and like, enjoy it. But I dropped out of that show like maybe 4 weeks before that show. just so
Okay,
I can prep a little bit longer. I didn't necessarily feel like even 80% ready to be on stage. Mentally, I wasn't there. There were some things that I just wanted to reevaluate in terms of like how I wanted my prep to look. Even
sure.
though I'd never been in a prep, I just knew I wanted to make sure I was doing it the way I wanted to. So, um, yeah, I ended up choosing Miami after that, which I mean, it's Miami.
Of
I
course.
love Muscle Beach, and everyone, in Florida is really big industry in Florida, and I thought that would be really cool. So, chose Muscle Beach, Miami, and I went from there. That was great.
So how long of a prep was that for Miami then? If you had to consider like a true prep, how long was that?
Okay, true prep. So if I'm including the prep that I did up to Charlotte, I started January. So January through Miami, which was June.
So about 24 weeks maybe, give or take?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't a perfect prep. Like around the time where I decided, excuse me, around the time where I decided that I wanted to pull out of Charlotte, I kind of like took a step back for a bit and not necessarily reversed or anything like that, but I definitely it was like eating normally and like just traveling.
Yeah. I was gonna say, 'cause
Yeah, I
you
was.
sound like you sound like you're generally lean or keep yourself in shape, so maybe even though 24 weeks, it might not have really been, if I'm understanding, maybe not really the diet, but maybe more refinement? Maybe that's the right or wrong
Yes.
thing to say?
Yeah, for the most part, I was just really soft at the time. Like I needed to get a
Okay,
little harder, a little tighter. So I probably just needed I knew I needed more time to do cardio. Like I really just needed to get a little tighter. I hadn't been spending much time doing that or eating correctly.
okay.
Um, the first part of the prep, like mentally, it was hard. It was really hard just trying to
Yeah,
find that routine. I didn't really enjoy the foods I was eating at the time either. So when I switched gears, I found a new method and I went with a new plan. I incorporated the foods that I like, and then I figured out what worked for me. I was also eating a lot more than I
okay.
was the first time, so then that encouraged me. So yeah, I did a little different.
Talk about that for a minute from the mental standpoint where, like you said, you're eating more. Was it hard to overcome that thinking, "Well, wait a minute, I've been eating X. I don't wanna get too big, too large, anything." I mean, was that hard to mentally get over?
Well, I can actually speak to that from like recent experience too, because
Okay,
after getting my pro card, I immediately went into a reverse, more of like an improvement.
okay.
And that was hard for me because yes, I'm eating a lot more, which is harder for me to do. And then it's the same type of meals. So I think right now mentally it's harder for me to eat. It's harder for me to like uh desire to have it or have an appetite, even though my body I
Sure.
can feel hungry. Mentally, I'm still like, I don't want anything to do with it,
Okay.
because either I'm eating too much, or if I'm eating less, I'm eating more times a day, if that makes sense.
Yes, of course.
Um, so yeah, mentally, I've been I've been trying to talk to myself a little better, be a little bit more graceful. The next time I get into prep, I want it to be a better one than the last time, and I also want to be more cognizant of the things that I didn't like before or I didn't feel comfortable with before. I want to try to change some of those and work on
Okay.
that, make it a little bit better.
When you're in prep, what do your meals look like, and do you count macros? Is it higher carbs, lower carbs? Like, what does that look like on, let's say, a couple of weeks before a show?
Yeah, I'm so happy that my coach doesn't have me count macros because I'm terrible at math. Like
Yeah,
I would probably mess that up. No, I just weigh out my food.
okay.
I'm sure he does his thing on the back end. That's why I'm really grateful for him because I'm sure he's doing that for me.
Yep.
But I'm just weighing it out. So it's usually just like 4 ounces of protein, whether that's lean ground beef or yeah, lean ground beef, ground turkey, chicken breast, chicken tenderloin, or white fish. And then
Okay.
I'll have like white rice or cream of rice. And that's usually around like 90 grams to 125 grams of that
Okay.
versus 4 ounces to 5 ounces of protein for each meal. And that's 5 times a day. So it's,
Are you into potatoes or oatmeal, sweet potatoes? Or is that on the docket?
yeah, I have oatmeal and blueberries as a particular breakfast that I like. Like I
Okay.
put my own together. So
Yep.
it's usually a protein powder that's like ice cream flavor,
Mhm.
vanilla ice cream flavor with oats and blueberries and a little bit of almond butter. I love that every morning. And sometimes I'll turn that into a smoothie. So it's good like regular oats, or you can like
Sure.
make it into blend it up and put it in a smoothie. I like that.
Yeah, I'm the creature of habit. I'm very similar. It's oatmeal, a scoop of protein powder, and strawberries or blueberries, whatever in season. I don't put the peanut
Yeah.
butter in there. But fats. I mean, what your fats sound like they're low. Where do you get your sources of fats?
Mostly the almonds, the almond butter, peanut butter,
Okay.
avocado.
Okay.
Sometimes optionally I put in like I have zucchini or spinach or yeah, some vegetables on the side usually. But yeah, no, not a whole lot of fats. Just the avocado with
As you get
everything.
as you get closer, do things change? Do the carbs come down, or is your meals kind of stay the same all the way up to just a few days or the day of?
The carbs definitely come down, but not by much. Not
Okay.
by much. Usually around to like 90 grams of rice.
Okay.
But for the most part, they stay the same, but because I'm eating 5 times a day and the meals are to me, my personally, I'm a small person. They're already too much for me. So when they get down to where they're just protein or less carbs than like the lowest amount that I could possibly have, I'm sure, it doesn't really bother me because I'm eating 5 times a day.
Does your coach allow you to use seasoning, sauces, anything like?
Yes, I definitely
Okay.
use, the feast mode
Okay.
seasonings. I like those. The barbecue, the tangy, it's like a sriracha type. And then you'll have like
Okay.
the different seasonings, and they have sweet ones too. I like that. I like hot sauce. He says
Okay.
to have 0 calorie hot sauces, but I usually use the ones that are like 5 or 10 calories. I try to be a
How
little strict, but I'm not. I'm a little lenient on certain things.
how hot do you get? Do you have a very hot palate, or are you kind of mediocre, or how's your hot senses, I
I can
guess?
get up to a Carolina Reaper.
Well, so do you watch Hot Ones, the TV show Hot Ones, or I should say the
I
YouTube channel?
do. I do, yeah.
Do you think you'd go the distance of all 10?
I think I could do all 10. I just know that there's
Wow.
that one, maybe it's 9 or 8 that tastes really bad, and I'm sensitive to taste. Like, if it's
Okay.
nasty, I might, get a little nauseous.
Wow. Yeah, I'm kind of midway. If there was a 10 scale, I think I'd make halfway through. I love that show, but I think I'd be halfway through to like a 5, and I'd have to tap out or have the milk or the ice cream like immediately.
Yeah, no. I definitely would need ice cream, though.
So talk to me about when you're in prep. What does your training look like?
So, typically, I'll do, 2 days 2 exercises for each how do I explain this? 2 shoulder days, 2 back days, 2 glute days, right? So
Okay.
and then I'll have a rest day, and then my rest days are usually just cardio and stretching. I do a lot of body work. I go to get body work, like a deep tissue massage once a week, and then body work maybe every 2 weeks or
Okay.
sometimes every week. But exercises look the same. They don't really switch up.
Okay.
I do progressive overloads, but closer into prep, like closer to peak week, I'm just maintaining and I'm not like ego lifting. So I'm being very careful, but still engaging every muscle. A lot of time under tension. That's kind of like what my exercises are for the most part. But like right now, it's a little different because I've been improving. So
Yeah.
I have a rest day in between each training day. So
Okay.
my trainings right now look like a glute day every fourth day, and I'll throw in a back or a shoulder day in between a rest day or opposite of a rest day. So that helps because my feedback has always been watch upper body and
Definitely.
grow my glutes. So a lot more glute days, less upper body days, which is a little tough, honestly, coming from just being someone who enjoys going to the gym and working out.
Sure.
Um, I think being a bodybuilder has showed me like, yeah, it's really specific and you're trying to look a certain way and fit a certain mold. Um, but I actually just I enjoy just working out and training because it's challenging me, but this is a different type of challenge.
Yes.
This is a challenge where I have to, fit requirements, and I actually like that a lot. So that's one of my favorite aspects of this.
Love it. Love it. Talk to us, if you don't mind, China, about picking the right bikini, because I know that can kind of make or break somebody. Like, what goes into your mindset when picking color and style, rhinestones, not rhinestones? Kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, I look at all the best ladies online. I follow all of the best. Amy, um, I watch Maureen and I look and see what they have on usually and see their
Yeah.
skin tones and match them to mine, kind of compare and contrast that way. Laura Lee, some of the shows that they've done back in the past and kind of go from there.
Okay.
Honestly, I like to look at the greats and see what I can do there and see if
Sure.
I see myself in them. Um, but yeah, and then my coach gets really helpful. Like I'll ask him questions about the other ladies and he'll introduce me to other ladies on the team and we'll kind of like piggyback ideas off of each other. But I definitely go to the websites and also I've only gotten my bikinis from Toxic Angels, so shout out to them too.
Okay.
Um and they have been really great. They talked me through everything from top to bottom. If I didn't know anything, like I know everything about bikinis now, but they've been the ones who've really given me everything that I need. So yeah, that's really what I do is just compare and contrast on social media.
Were you surprised at the prices when you started shopping? I'm not gonna ask you how much, but I know they can get a little pricey.
Absolutely. I was not expecting a bikini to be 600, $700. Like, was not expecting that. I can see why. They're handmade and they're
Yes.
like, fragile, beautiful, like pieces of art. So I get it, but I was not expecting that. That was a bit shocking. The sport in itself actually shocked me how much it cost. The
Yes.
sport is expensive. It's an
What about
expensive sport.
what about shoes?
The shoes aren't too bad, in terms of, like, expensiveness, but,
Okay.
they're not very comfortable. You
But now
definitely have to break them in.
but now do the judges look at kind of a is there a height maybe not a height requirement, but obviously do people
Mm.
try to be almost that same height where it's gonna dictate how high your heels are or not, or heels generally standard regardless of your height? Does that make sense?
Heels are standard regardless of your height,
Oh, okay.
but nothing everything is based on your height without the heels. So that when we
Okay.
do our check-ins, when we go in the first day, they don't weigh us, they check our heights with our shoes off, and that's
Okay.
how we figure out our placements. So yeah, it's regardless of the height of the shoe, but in my opinion, from what I've seen so far, I think I like the taller heels because it just makes your glutes and your legs pop a little bit more, I
Sure.
think. But I know it's more comfortable for some ladies to wear those shorter ones or just the medium length ones because of the platforms. It's much more challenging to pose like that in the taller heels. Like if you look at Marine and the heels that she wears, hers are really tall platforms, and it requires a lot of skill to be able to turn on your toes with those tall heels. But yeah, I like the tall ones.
How often or how much are you wearing those shoes? Because obviously we talked off air. You're a professional by the day. You're a professional person. I'm sure you're not wearing that type of heels or that size heels around your office. How much time and effort do you put into practicing with the heels?
Actually do wear those heels to the office.
Oh,
Well,
okay. I
not the
reject that.
exact same heels, but I actually do wear heels to the office every day. But um, I should probably practice in my heels more often than not. I would encourage someone to, if they were choosing to compete, or if that was something that I would critique myself on, is that
Okay,
I should be practicing a lot more. Um, it requires a level of confidence when you don't have that physique to
sure.
practice when you're in your like normal physique. So I'm like still mentally getting there, but looking at myself and seeing the shape, I understand what's supposed to be there. It's more about just mentally being, comfortable in what I'm doing. And that's my biggest critique for myself right now before I do my pro debut is to spend more time practicing. So I have started like literally, this was my first week getting back into my practicing so
Okay,
that I'll be ready. So when I step on stage, it'll be more elegant. It'll flow gracefully. Because I think that's really impactful. Whether the judges give you a score for your posing or not, that's super impactful to show where I look the best. So I'm gonna spend more time. I would definitely encourage someone to spend more time than what I'm doing right now.
on competition day, whether we refer to the universe or maybe one of the previous, how do you keep yourself kind of mentally motivated, not let the stress and jitters and everything get to you?
Hmm. I listen to a lot of music.
Okay.
I definitely spend a lot of time on the phones talking to my family and friends. I try
Okay.
not to like put myself. I work really well under pressure. I enjoy it. But I try to put myself in a mindset of not actually feeling that pressure or just like, oh, I'm here because I have to do it. So let me put myself in it when I'm actually there. So
Sure.
big thing for me is like being where your feet are in that moment. So only be where you are in that moment at that moment. And so if I'm supposed to be on stage in 15 minutes, my brain is where I am right now. And in 15 minutes, my brain will be on stage because that's where I'll be. So I try to keep those types of mindsets. I talk to myself in that way all the time so that I don't have as much anxiety as I really do. But it helps with the anxiousness. It helps with like the jitters that I feel. I spend a lot of time backstage, like going through my routine with my coach, which is really helpful. And then a lot of the ladies on my team, shout out to my team, Team Pro Ops.
Love it.
The ladies are really great. They will hype you up if they're there competing too. They take the pictures and they make sure you're good. Like we're all together. So love that part of the community. But that helps with the jitters too. Just being surrounded by people who understand what you're doing and encourage you. Yeah, it's a great feeling. I'm reliving it right now.
You talk music. What music keeps you kind of motivated? What keeps you kind of grounded, I guess, when you're waiting for your number and whatnot to be called?
Oh, a mixture. There's so many. So I'm a huge Chris Brown fan,
Okay.
love his music. I'm a big Bad Bunny fan.
Oh,
So I listen
wow.
to a lot of reggaeton. I listen to a lot of R&B, hip hop. Travis Scott really gets me right when I'm like at the gym. So I listen to a lot of that because it's really upbeat. I need something that'll keep me going, keep me
Okay.
focused. But other times I listen to a lot of like soft R&B. Um, underground artists, really. I can't even think of like what the Free Nationals right now. I listen to them a lot. But yeah,
It's
so
very diverse.
just like
Love
something,
it.
yeah, something calm and cool.
So the day of the universe, you do your routine and whatnot. You walk backstage. Are you feeling that you've got this? I mean, what's going through your head? Are you humble saying, no, I'm not gonna win this? Or are you kind of, where I'm going with this? Well, what is your thought after you step on stage, you walk back? What are you thinking?
Yeah, after I stepped off stage, I was definitely like, I got this. I kind of
Love it.
felt that way a lot. Maybe every show that I went to, I was like, oh, I won this one. But I definitely felt it then. I was a little hesitant about that feeling only because it's interesting enough, this has happened to me twice, but I've shown up to 2 shows, like, right before I'm supposed to get on stage, like,
Jeez.
literally running from the Uber with my heels in my hand, stripping out of my jacket, and, like, running onto the stage kind of thing. That's
Okay.
happened twice. I gotta do better. But that was Universe Day. So Universe morning, I don't even know, it was just traffic. It was really bad traffic.
Yeah.
And the Uber got me there in time. However, I did miss the initial comparison. So when they bring the ladies out in the first group, they just do like a front back and then they send them back. We come back
Yeah.
around and do individuals. I missed that first half.
Oh,
So
wow.
then I had to run and get into individual routines in line. And I did get fussed out by all of the people backstage. It was my fault. I take full accountability.
Yeah, yeah.
But I ended up hopping in and yeah, I was able to get into first call outs after that. So I was feeling pretty good, honestly. I'm not even gonna lie. I was like,
I'm
yeah, I'm totally gonna win.
I'm glad the judges didn't ding you for that though.
Me too. That because that's not okay. That is not okay. But I was definitely on the way. Like I was just stuck. But yeah, I apologized and especially to the guys backstage. Shout out to them because they were not happy. But yeah, I had to do a lot of apologizing.
So you get your name called. Does it hit you immediately? Is it kinda like, are you out of your body for a minute? Like, when they call your name, what's going through your mind?
Oh yeah, I kind of get a little stone cold in that moment. Like
Yeah.
I just kind of freeze a little bit. So I even had an instance too in DC when that happened where they called my name and I was moved from the outside in and I wasn't expecting it. And it threw me off. I was like trying to figure out which arm went on my hip and which leg goes out straight. I couldn't figure it out, but I could see it happening. But it's a great feeling, but then it catches you off guard. You kind of don't expect it.
I love this next question. I think be that I love asking. So you get your card, you get your pro card, the show is over. What's the first meal you have that night or the next morning? You bad or what do you have?
I'd be mad.
Oh,
I'd
what
be
is it?
mad. There's this waffle spot in New
Okay.
Jersey that everyone raves about, and we were encouraged to go. So we went to this waffle spot, and they had this huge waffle with like 4 fried Oreos and a sundae in the middle, and like syringes full of cream, and it
Oh,
was
jeez.
insane. I didn't eat it all, but I totally had that, and there was donuts at the show. some crazy donut place in New Jersey that's well known, and they were popped up there. I had 6 donuts in my room waiting for me after the show. I took a bite out of every donut, but,
Of course.
I went a little hard after New Jersey, I'll be honest. I should not have done that. I do not encourage that because it was terrible kind of reversing after.
Yep.
Just the, like, inflammation and the swelling, which everyone warned me, by all means. Everyone told me not to do it, but
Yeah.
I went a little overboard. It was my first time, okay.
That morning you woke up, did you look better than the day before? Because there are a lot of times when you pig out the sodium and the fats and the carbs, sometimes people look better the next morning.
I totally did. And what's funny is that after new I did junior nationals, I came in 2nd junior nationals by 1 point. When I got my feedback from the judges backstage, she was like, "Oh, I didn't see her look like this on stage." And it's because I scarfed down like 5 Reese's cups before I spoke to
Yes.
her.
That's my guilty pleasure, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. That's mine all day
That's
long.
smart.
Oh my gosh. How long did it take you to update your Instagram to add those 4 little
Oh,
letters or 4 big
I'm
letters?
like I'm like everyone else. I did it literally like right after. Probably when I got back to the hotel room. I stayed off the phone as much as I can throughout the day. I try to
Yep.
take the whole day in, so I just put the phone away. People are just in my ear all day, but it literally took all of 10 minutes. Like changed
I
that
love it.
immediately, changed my photo to the photo on NPC, on the online news website. Like I took
Yep.
all of that and put everything in my everything, just everything swapped. I was ready though. I was already ready.
What was the judges' feedback? Did you solicit judges' feedback at the end?
Oh, yeah, every single time. Always get the judges' feedback. The feedback that time was the same thing. Um, just watch my upper body, fuller in the glutes. The same thing every single time. I could come back a little bit tighter too, she said,
Okay.
which I thought was interesting because I was pretty lean, but she said a little tighter. I had been in prep like probably that was my 4th show, so it had
Good
been a
for you.
while.
4
I needed
shows
a
and you got your pro card. Good for you.
yeah, yeah. That 4th one was my pro card. Yeah, thank you.
So now what are you doing moving forward? What are you doing? What kind of exercises are you doing to bring up those glutes and some of those other areas you need improvement on?
Mm, right now, I'm doing a lot well, hamstring curls is the first exercise and get the
Okay.
hamstrings right. Of course, I always stretch in the beginning. I've been doing better at that. I hadn't always stretched like I should. But as
Okay.
I'm getting older, my joints are hurting. So I'm stretching first. I'm doing hamstring curls lying down. A lot of like hip abductions, single leg cable kickbacks,
Okay.
rope pull throughs, anything that's like super glute targeted. Hip thrust, of course, that's a major one. Have to ball out every single time on hip thrusts. Um, reverse hyperextensions.
Sure.
Um, but for the past like 2 or 3 months, I've been doing the same exercises. Like
Okay.
I mean, that makes sense, right? You want to build, so you have to do so. It has to be consistent. So I've stayed consistent with it, and I've seen some progress. I
Good.
feel like I can see some difference, but we'll see. I'm just eager to get back on stage.
So I know we have to wait with our hands on our lap for the schedule of next year, but a lot of times the shows are somewhat similar. Do you have a timeline or a show or anything in mind for next year?
I definitely would love to do the Arnold Classic if I ever got an invite, but
Oh,
that's early next year, right? So I'd have to do some work in the beginning.
okay.
But that's long-term goal. Like that's one of my top goals is to get there. Of course, to get an Olympia qualification, that's ideal as well.
Sure.
Um, but I definitely think I want to go back to Charlotte Pro.
Okay.
For sure. That's early up next year. That was the show that I initially wanted to do, and I think I could go back and try to win the whole thing. So let's try it.
I love the confidence. I'm not even gonna say arrogance, it's confidence. I love it.
I'm definitely confident. No, no arrogance.
Do you have in your mind how many shows you'd want to do in a year now that you're a pro? Because obviously things are a little bit different.
I think I'm thinking about doing this rotating thing. So I'll do like a prep. I'll be I'll do a show or two, and then I'll do a some mini reverse where I can refuel, take some time off, build, get back into normal life and focus
Okay.
on some other things, and then get back right back into a prep and pick up where I left off. For the most part, like I've explained, my body is pretty much the same. It's always been that way, and I kind of
Yeah.
maintain it. I do want to grow, so at some point, I do know that I need to take a full improvement season, which would probably be like 6 to 8 months long, which is fine. I could
Okay.
do that, I think. But for the most part, I'd like to do a cycle right now, like do some shows, take a break, do some shows, take a break. No
Sure.
number in mind really, but I've heard of some people doing like a large amount of shows, but I don't know. That's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
It's interesting though when I look at it as at the competitors, whether it's male or female, because a lot have that mindset of, well, only want to do one or two shows because I want to grow. I don't want to beat up my body too much. But again, it's a business, and the only way to get better is to compete more. And it's kind of finding that balance. That's the way I look at it. Because how are you going to get better
Okay.
competing or posing if you're not doing it more often? But again, it's tough.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was thinking about doing my pro debut sooner rather than later, and then I
Okay,
can kind of see where the judges like place me now with the pros. And then I have an idea of how much growing I really need to do and how much time I need to take in order for me to make those improvements and then get
sure.
back in front of the judges later. And then I can place a little bit higher, hopefully. You know what I mean? So we'll see.
What would be
That's
your
the goal.
what would be your dream lineup? You in the middle of who, left and right of you? If you could, again, past, present, future, who would you love to stand beside?
Oh, top ones, definitely Maureen. I
Okay,
idolize her. I love her so much. Okay, let me use a better word. Not idolize, but I admire her a lot.
okay,
Maureen's really great. I love her physique. I think it looks very natural, very sexy, like it's full. I like that look. Laura Lee is my next one. Love her too.
sure.
We have completely different physiques, but her balance, it's just very balanced look. I love her posing. I think she knows her angles. She's just very confident too. I love that about her. Um, let's see. I think I have a third one. Um, Raina.
Okay,
Raina's another good one. I love her look. I think she also looks very balanced. I love the fullness in her glutes, and I feel like her upper body isn't too top heavy. Even though she could be like, it would be okay if she put a little bit more extra up top, but she is really balanced because of her. I think because of her legs and her upper body is not too big. But yeah, those are my top three. Love them
W-
all.
in a real world, what is the end goal? What is the epitome for you? If you could put a icing on the cake, what would you want to be known for?
Well, of course, definitely want to go to the Olympia and like win.
Okay,
Be the top, like top three of the world would be great. Okay. But overall, the purpose, like I have a purpose here. I'm just now kind of starting to brush the surface there. But ideally, I want to be recognized for one, being different, like showing the diversity behind the sport, of course, right? Like
sure.
obviously. And then two, it's more of like I have a real like career that I've been working on for a long time. And this one is a real career that I'm going to be able to like manifest something new into my other career. And
Yep,
eventually I'd be able to like mesh the two and show that like there can be a balance there. Like you can move, you can either make this your whole life or you can make it a hobby or you can make that other part of you your whole life or your hobby.
yep.
Regardless of what you do, you can find a balance, right? And it doesn't have to like ruin you. It doesn't have to push you into a hole or drive you crazy. I am still kind of going crazy sometimes, but like I said, I'm finding a balance. I'm working on it. So
Is
over time, it'll show that.
is your day job accepting of what you do, both from what you do, but also, showing up with a six pack, I'm assuming a six-pack cooler and eating every 2.5 hours. Hey, boss, I got to disappear for a minute to get a meal in. Are they embracing or acceptive of that?
Yeah, it took a lot of conversations first because they didn't realize what I was doing because I don't necessarily share a whole lot.
Of
You just
course.
kind of learn over time and I'll open up over time. So this is very special time because I'm really opening up a lot here. This is a vulnerable moment. Um, but I share a lot now because over time they started to realize that my arms started looking different or my face looked a little bit more chiseled. And
Yep.
so they're like, China, is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just in the middle of like competing in a bodybuilding competition. So over time, everybody's like intrigued. They all follow me on social media. They're very supportive. Like all of my colleagues, all of my friends, my boss knows about it. We talk
Sure.
about it all the time. He's a competitive like drag racer. So
Oh,
he just
wow.
like, he understands the competitive backgrounds and stuff like that. So he's just like really supportive. They pick on me about the food. They
I can
look at
imagine.
me, side eye me a little bit. They may have a little thing to say, but it doesn't bother me because I mean, like, they're not doing it. I'm doing it. So I remind them that all the time. But yeah. But they're all pretty respectful, and so I like it. It's been helpful too. Like I think it's increasing business. Let's say it
Yes,
like
yes.
that.
But now do a lot of people solicit you for advice, whether it's gym, exercise, training, whatever it is?
I find that a lot of people are thinking that I want to be some type of like coach or, trainer. And I don't necessarily have that kind of desire for this right now. I've
Yeah,
been just enjoying the sport and learning as much as I can and falling in love with it. So yeah, people just kind of like put themselves on my schedule and say, I'm getting a gym membership today and I'll meet you there tomorrow. So I'm like, okay. I don't know how to respond to that. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm just having fun. I'm just having fun.
yeah, no. But China, this has been a fantastic conversation. Is there anything else that maybe we haven't touched that you want to let the listeners know about? I mean, open forum, anything maybe we haven't touched?
Um, no, I think this has been a really cool conversation. I think we had a great time and I was able to reminisce a little bit and just remember all the good times I had this summer. Again, this was like my first time ever doing anything like this. Really took me out of my comfort zone. It showed me a lot about myself. I'm
Yeah,
still learning a lot about myself. I made a lot of friends. I met a lot of different people from all over. So I'm just really grateful to just be here and be able to do this and to be able to engage and be a part of this sport. I'm so respectful of it and the people who do this. I
sure.
love it so much. I do want to shout out like my best friends, Jacob, Murph, my mom, my brothers, Jasmine, and Emily, of course, because Emily like really she puts me together. She gets me right. But yeah, so I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for my coach too, Ben Maroney, Team Pro Ops. Really great guy. Like I would not have been able to do any of this without his guidance. So I definitely give a lot to him.
Love it. And China, where
That's
can
all
people
I have.
follow you on Instagram?
I should have put that in this little tag box thing here, but
That's okay. I'll edit.
it's it's at Chyna Melton underscore IFBB Pro.
Of course. We'll try to again, it's truly been a pleasure. Hopefully you'd be interested in coming back again, maybe when we're in prep mode, just to kind of pick your
Absolutely.
brain. Or maybe after you get the pro card win, you'll join us back and kind of help we'll celebrate a little bit virtually here.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's been so nice talking to you. I'm definitely going to stay in touch, so we'll keep up with each other.
Definitely. China, again, thank you so much. And for everybody listening, make sure you follow this upcoming star. You can't miss that smile, that energy, that personality. And as always, make sure you follow us at subtalk_radio. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye bye.